It's time to feel what you've been bottling up. Life in rural America isn't easy. The long hours, the constant pressures, the demands of the land, livestock, and family, it all takes a toll. We're tough and we've got grit, but somewhere along the way, toughness started meaning bottling up emotions and powering through. But here's the truth. That strategy, it's not working and it's poisoning us. Maybe you've noticed and maybe you haven't, but the numbers don't lie. We're breaking down and it's showing up in our bodies, our relationships, and in the rising suicide rates in agriculture. You don't have to carry any of it alone. There's another way. If you're ready to stop being weighed down and start moving forward, my one-on-one good movement guidance is now open. Visit the link in the show notes to learn more and see if one-on-one guidance could be for you.
I'll carry you, you carry me, we'll help each other through it. Come on and say good movement draws good movement.
Welcome to Good Movement Draws Good Movement, the podcast where farmers, ranchers, and rural folks can grow relationally through awareness, understanding, and effective communication. Hey, it's T. I'm your host, and I, along with my guests, will be covering topics related to drawing good movement. Things like self and social awareness, brain science, positive psychology, extending grace, and so much more. We'll share tools that can help you understand why you are the way you are, why others are the way they are, and how you can use that to step out of self-told lies with grace and compassion to draw good movement in conversations, relationships, and life in rural America. Let's go draw good movement. Welcome back to the Good Movement Draws Good Movement podcast. Today, we have my friend Thea Larsen with us.
Hey.
Thea is the founder and host of all things Cowgirls Over Coffee, where she's on a mission to help women quit white knuckling it through their days and navigate a life that can get a little Western. Thea and I have known each other online for several years now, and we don't live that far from each other. Like, we're talking 20 miles as the crow flies. Yes, I did Google Map that this morning. By Sandhill standards, we are practically neighbors.
We're neighbors. Yeah, we are neighbors by Sandhill standards, completely.
But we've yet to hang out or see each other in Nebraska in real life. We literally have only seen each other out of state or online or in a Zoom room, but that is about to end.
Yes,
we are going very soon.
Yes.
So that means the longstanding joke will end, though.
That's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm sure we'll have another one. If we spend more time together, there are bound to be new running jokes that will come out of it because
that's probably true. I couldn't believe it, though. When I Google mapped it, it was, okay, so if we drive, it's 35 miles.
Okay, yeah.
But over an hour.
That's so banana. I know. That's the other thing, too. Like, I'm always telling people because I feel like we're not, quote unquote, far from things, but it takes me, like, I just this morning. So before I knew, like, these are the days, Wednesdays during the summer are the days where I have someone watch the boys for me so I can try and get focus work done. So I was like, I lose an hour and 40 minutes just driving the boys to the sitter and then driving back. And I'm like, this is bananas. And we're not going to be doing we don't have preschool. So both the boys are going to be in school this fall and they're both going to go to the same school and we'll still have speech therapy in another town. But like my driving time is going to be significantly reduced because everything is like far because I have a bit of a lead foot and I've learned not to because you can't drive that way around here. Like it's not that far, but it's going to take you an hour and a half to go 35 miles if you don't get stuck in the sand.
Yes. So I am a big fan of what Thea does in her mission with Cowgirls Over Coffee. And we're going to talk more about that. But first, Thea, can you tell us a little more about you and how you got to where you are today?
I always feel like I never know where to start. Like, this is the whole about me page anxiety that we all have, right? Where you're like, well, where do I even start? But I will say that I feel like I've lived like whole different iterations of my life, which is really bananas to me, but it has given me such a unique perspective. So I went to school, I went to college at the University of Idaho. I grew up in Northern Idaho in Sandpoint, which is like vastly different now from when I grew up there. I went to the University of Idaho. I did the whole, you go to college and you'll get a good job, right? Spiel. That was back in the day. I feel like that's not as much of like the line of what we're telling people now. But I have two different bachelor's degrees. One is in communication and one is in business. And I went right into events and event management. And then I worked in sponsorship in New Mexico. I went from Idaho to New Mexico, and then I went farther south in New Mexico. And I always like to joke that I lived 30 minutes south of Canada, and then I lived 30 minutes north of Mexico. Like I had major, like it was such like a cultural experience because everything is so different. Like the pace that things go in the Pacific Northwest versus the pace that things go in like the land of Manana. I loved all that. I was a CEO of a nonprofit organization for a few years for a United Way in Southwest New Mexico. Then I had the opportunity because nonprofit work wasn't really my jam. I love business. I love management. I love working with people. And I had the opportunity to go and be the general manager for the Greeley Stampede in Greeley, Colorado, and I moved to Colorado. So I really had this plan that my life was going to be like rodeo production and administration, management, marketing. Like I love the business of rodeo. Like that's another thing. Like if you want to get me distracted talking about something, like if we talk rodeo production and business, although now I've been out of it for a decade because while I was working there, I ran into my husband at the bar in Denver. And I was like, I always joke that it's like the world's longest one night stand because next thing I know, I'm married. I'm living in the sandhills of Nebraska. I have 2 kids. We're ranching, which is all fantastic, right? I grew up when I was in Sandpoint, my grandparents had I'm going to use the word ranch in quotation marks because we had like one section and we had like 60 head of pulled Herefords and then horses. And I grew up riding and that sort of thing. So it's not even the same genre or hemisphere as what we do ranching now. But that's what I do now. And I will say, because of that, I had this really bizarre, I don't know, or unique experience where I was going 90 miles an hour. I was like, I did not really pay much attention to the things that were going on in my personal life or myself. I was just very like doing my work because I loved it so much. I was never compartmentalizing. My friends were in my work. Everything I did was work. I was, going to events, like all the things that you do in life. All my hobbies were work related. And then I got married. I moved to the middle of nowhere. And then when I got pregnant, I stopped driving and doing consulting work because I was driving for so long in like the middle of nowhere. It didn't seem very safe. So I like hit a brick wall. And then you add that to all the postpartum stuff, postpartum anxiety. We just had a lot of things going on. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it broke me. Like, and I never experienced that. And like my whole identity shifted. I had never experienced that. And it's something that like, while people talk about like the identity shift and the postpartum experience, well, I like just did like all those life changes you're not supposed to do at the same time. Like, I think they recommend like you take a year, like after, someone dies or something, or you get divorced or whatever it is. Like I left a job, got married, had kids, went to work for myself, moved I did everything at once. And then I was shocked. I was shocked that I didn't feel like I knew myself or my purpose or my identity. So that's where Cowgirls Over Coffee like came to me. That's like a really long-winded explanation. I'm sorry, I'm not good at explaining who I am. But that's what brought me to Cowgirls Over Coffee, because when I was living in the middle of nowhere, I felt so disconnected from things. And like my friends still had real jobs, so I couldn't just call them in the middle of the day. And so I started an Instagram account. And I believe the first iteration of Cowgirls Over Coffee was the Cowgirl Diaries. And I was just wanted to tell stories and share things. And I also had a second one at that time that was Women in Western. And that's where I did more of like my business things because I felt like those had to be separated. But yeah, it kind of came together. I brought them under Cowgirls Over Coffee because I wanted to have conversations with women who refuse to settle is really what it's about. Because I just feel like we're just built different and we're we're not alone, but we feel alone. Like we buy into this narrative that we're alone and that not that we're not special, because we're all special, but we're not that special. And we're not the only person struggling with the things we're struggling with or trying to navigate filling these multiple high demand roles. And I think that's very unique to our lifestyle because like what I see mostly with the women in Cowgirls Over Coffee is they're like, okay, I just need to prioritize. And we are so used to like being able to figure it out. But like when your priorities are all number one priorities because you have these silos of these roles that you're filling that must get done, cows must get fed, children must be watched, you must sleep. Like having to choose between those, like there's not really a thing going on, but we're still beating ourselves up and being like, I just need to be more organized, or if my house was decluttered, or if I was better at my time management, or if I could do less or do more or whatever. And we're beating ourselves up and we're thinking that we're the only person dealing with this. So that's Cowgirls Over Coffee community in a nutshell. Everyone's more confused now than they were before.
No, I love it because you're right. And I mean, the cows need fed, the kids need fed, we need to be fed and sleep and all the things. But then also we have these passions that lie outside of that maybe aren't as immediate priorities, but still really important to us.
Yes.
And so inside Cowgirls Over Coffee, you have built this community and help women manage all of those things.
Yes.
Or let them know that they're not alone. And so I think that's really cool.
I love it because it is chaos. And I really thrive in chaos, which is really interesting because I feel like that's something that's a juxtaposition that I really struggle with both in my life and also in my business as my brand. I'm like, I need to be more concise. I need to be more specific. People don't understand, but also like it's embracing the chaos because I refuse to embrace mediocrity. I just don't believe. And I know like, and I think maybe like women like you and me, the women in Cowgirls Over Coffee, and probably a lot of you, if you're listening to this podcast, you feel the same way. Like you want it all. And like, yes, we know we don't want it quote unquote all, I don't want to be a pro NBA player and a mom and a barrel racer. Like that's not all of it. But I do want to have a great family life. I want to feel so good in my home. I want to be confident in myself. I want my body to be healthy. I want to be a great mom. I want to be involved with my kids and I want to do something in my community. I want to be involved in my church and I want to create a brand and a business that like does something that helps people, that makes an impact and also brings in finances to our family because ranching, we do it for the lifestyle, right? Like I want more horses and more trailers and bigger trucks and I want more. And even myself, there was a time where I was unapologetic about that. And then I went through this phase and I think a lot of it was like motherhood and things changing. And I felt like there was like a lot of pressure to like, you don't have to have it all. And, there's no such thing as balance. And I started thinking like, maybe I was delusional and I'm just now moving it back into like embracing my delusional optimism. Like I am delusionally optimistic. I totally think that we can feel so good about everything we're doing. I think we can do well at all the things that we truly want to do well. Now, I think that ebbs and flows and navigating that is the like key. That's like the secret sauce and how we navigate it. Like in Cowgirls Over Coffee, we really take things in season. We do like in spring and fall, we do a sprint where we were like, okay, now we're going to prioritize those big long-term goals. And then we take our foot off the gas pedal in like winter and spring. And we're like, okay, let's look at foundations. Let's look at let's dial it back. And it's always like a refining and an iterating of like, what do you want? Like, you don't go so hard at something that you forget what you want or why you want it. But that's kind of the navigating it part. And I just want to encourage women as much as I can. Like, what if, like, just be curious, what if we can have it all in the way that like you can have an amazing business and do work that you love that brings money into your family? It doesn't mean you have to build $1 million brand. Like, what if you just had a little business, a quote unquote little business, and it brought in $15,000 to $25,000? Like that could change your life, So that's where I just want everyone to be like, just imagine for a minute, what if you're not wrong? What if you can find your space, your state of balance? What if you can, quote unquote, have it all that you want? I think we're kind of like in this whole accepting, like, I'm not for the hustle at all. I feel like it's more of like a grounded anger, like work, but like you don't have to lower your bar in order to have all the things.
Right. All is relative to the human.
1,000%. Yes.
I love all of that.
I just get on my soapbox and like, you can't have it all. Darn it. And you feel good doing it. I know it. Like we'll figure it out together.
Yeah. And you just need to figure out what your all is.
Yes. Yeah. And it will change. And that's the thing I think too. Like I was just I was writing some stuff about decision making. And I'm like, we put so much weight in making the decision and we make it so big on the front end and we don't think about the back end. Because have you ever like thought about and researched something you were going to buy, like it was a big ticket purchase and you hummed and you hawed and should I buy it and should I finance it or should I do this or should that? Once you buy it, you don't think about the dang thing again. Like once the decision is made, you don't think about it again. And I'm just like, most, there's always things, most decisions are not forever. Most decisions are like not life changing, but we get to this place where we get so anxious and we take every single decision like it's this, once I go down this path, I can never go back. And I see that a lot in when women are trying to decide like what to do with their businesses or like what to do like homeschooling versus going to public school. Like you can try things, like try more stuff. Like we just need to like take so much pressure off of ourselves and find the fun and the fluidity in it because life is so dynamic. We have to always be checking in with ourselves. And that's kind of like something we talked about too when I had you come on Cowgirls Over Coffee podcast, is that like it's you, like you are the center of your universe. Like everything starts and ends with you. And that's why it's so important that you're doing the work, like what Taryn is talking about, doing the work of understanding yourself and your communication and everything, your relationships, because that's all going into those decision-making processes. Like that's all the ingredients that are going into whatever the outcome is on the other side. And so when you know yourself really well and you're giving yourself that time, those decisions happen faster. When things don't work out, you're able to pivot and change your mind quicker. Like everything just moves so much more easy. And that's where that purpose and ease comes from. But it starts with like really pouring into yourself. Like you have to make yourself a well-oiled machine, which is not fun. Like that stuff's not fun. It's not exciting usually.
Yeah. I mean, it's work. So
it's work. And it's like like I'm here for, like, I love big, bold moves. Like, I made a big decision and I'm doing this big thing, or we're going to throw an event, or all of those things. Like, those are fun. Like, I love that stuff. And I know, like, that depends on people, but for me, I love that. But oh my gosh, I have to get up every single day and stretch, or I have to make sure I drink water, or I have to make sure I eat my stinking vegetables. Like, I have to think about that. And, like, you don't get an immediate payoff, right? Like it's all this low key, boring crap that I don't want to have to do. But like the payoff of that thing is usually exponentially bigger and more impactful than my big, bold thing that I did. And I just kind of hate that.
Right. But, you said we have to get ourselves to a place where we're a well-oiled machine, but we're not machines. So you have to do all of those little things like drink water and recognize that you're a human and you have emotions and
yeah, get your sun, have a conversation with your friend, take some time off, do something like all those little things. And like, there's just so many, when you think about like, there's just so many engine lights to be checking all the time. And we get better at that when we quit fighting against it, but it doesn't feel like cool. Like, and it's not, that's one of the things I always fight with is I'm like, this isn't like TED Talk worthy. Like, this isn't like, ooh, my big TED Talk point, or this isn't like the little quote that's going to be like, that's a great quote. Like it's never just the one thing. It's like 67 little not cool things. But like it's like the sum is greater, or the whole is greater than the sum of its parts every time. But it's not the most exciting. And that's why we have to do it together. Like, that's why I think it's so important that we get in community, talk with each other, connect with people. That's why I'm such a fan of social media. I know people are like, oh, shut up. Thea's going to talk about how great social media is again. But yes, like I think when we can connect, especially for rural women or women who are, I also feel like this is the same with rodeo. Like when you're not like in regular contact with a lot of the same people all the time, like you're going to have to find that for yourself and visit with people and talk to them and have real conversations. That's how we keep doing those little things. And that's how we keep knowing like, okay, I'm going, like, this is working. This is important. I'm not alone. Keep on pushing on down the road.
Right. And we talked when I came in, what do you call those? Your Cowgirls Over Coffee?
Oh yeah. Just a membership. We had you a guest speaker, just a guest speaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we talked in there about this being more of a slow burn, like improving your communication, with your family members or, people you work with. It's not an overnight deal. And this is the same thing, like getting your life and your business and your family and everything, getting your all is not like flipping on the light switch.
Yes.
It's a slow burn.
Yes. Just when you said that, I'm like, it's like a Looney Tunes where like it's a stick of dynamite, but the little fuse is like the 8 miles long where like Yosemite Sam has like just spread it out 8 miles and through houses and under trees and in ditches. And so you're lighting it, but like it's taking it a long time to get to like having that stick of dynamite go off for you.
But I think our society and our culture has taught us that, well, Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Prior to the pandemic, you ordered your Amazon and you got it 2 days later.
Which was amazing. That fed every part of me that loves instant gratification.
But it also has ruined us to a slower pace and, laying the foundation for things because we've gotten so accustomed to getting it right away.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So are there things within Cowgirls Over Coffee that you do to foster that joy in the slow burn?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I don't know. I think we do, just like, I feel like I'm always beating a dead horse. And I'm always like, okay, where are you at? What did you do this month? Did you schedule something this month that is going to restore you? Did you do the work to decide like, what is it that restores you and helps you feel rejuvenated? And so I think that the one thing that we do in there to foster that is always those reminders, because we have to be reminded all the time. There's so much that we just do. We start doing on autopilot. And I think that's what kills us. And so I think that's why I made a membership instead of just a course. Not that we don't do courses and we have like programs and things we do, but I think that the membership is so important because like what we really need is that person every day being like, did you drink your water? Did you get enough sleep? Like the world needs a mom. Like we need a mom to be like, did you take a coat? Do you need this? Like all those things we need that we know we need. And we try to skip because we think it's going to make us go faster, or we think we can cut a corner somewhere. Never helps. You know what I mean? And it's the same way. Like I love to like, just like skip the little steps and like do the big steps. And I think that's a problem with a lot of the women that I run into that are like, attracted to this lifestyle and owning businesses and stuff, is that we are already overachievers in that we tend to have a greater capacity than the average person. So we can usually do more with less. We have more energy. We're the kind of person that will say, oh, I work well under pressure, because we've learned that we're super good problem solvers and we can really pull things off and we can wing it. And that is celebrated. Like it's really celebrated when you can like pull it off. But like, it feels like crap doing it. And I think it robs us of the joy of the accomplishment because we work, like the joy happened in such a big burst. Like I love the stress of that. And I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing, but what the accomplishment, like whatever I pulled off, like falls flat based on the adrenaline rush I had to get it done. And like leaning more into, like you said, the slow burn of things, I feel so much like I am so much better now. Like that was past Thea. Me, I feel so good knowing, like not having that anxiety, like not having that. And because of that, because I have these strong foundations, when things come up where I do have to push through, and they still happen, right? Because it's life. When those things come up for me, I'm like able to use that jet fuel that I have in such a specific way that I don't get anxious and I don't feel overwhelmed and I don't think about, oh, what am I dropping the ball on right now? Because I have learned that I have a really good working knowledge and consistent actions that I know what's going on. So I know, like, for example, during the summer, like the last couple of days, I just let the kids play with everything and make all the messes because I know that my foundations of taking care of things are in there and it'll take me just a few hours to get everything cleaned up, and letting them make a mess so that I can focus on catching up on some work is okay. And I'm okay with that. And that's the difference than stressing out like, oh, my house is a mess and this paperwork isn't done and I need to go here and I need to make this appointment. No, because I'm making very specific decisions about what I'm doing and not doing because I've been informing myself all along the way. Like I know where I'm going. I'm checking in with myself. I'm making sure my priorities are still in line with both my daily demands and my long-term goals. I'm always looking at my long-term goals being like, is this what I want still? And I think using that and questioning and being curious all along the way is what fosters that for people. And that's kind of what we're doing in Cowgirls Over Coffee too, is like just kind of learning that habit of it all.
I love that. Getting curious about it.
Yes. Always like, this is weird. Like, why did that make me super excited? Why did that make me super ticked off? Like, there's so much information in there. And once we know that, then we move quicker because it doesn't throw us off, right? Like things don't throw us off so much because we're like, oh, I know this made me mad because I'm X. Or I know I got really excited about this because I love Y, and you can just keep moving. And I think that's the thing is like when we can just good movement, when we can just create more ease for ourselves, like we just become more streamlined in all of that.
Okay, since you just said good movement, I'm going to ask the question that I ask all the guests because of a hilarious incident surrounding what good movement is. So, when you first heard the phrase good movement, what did you think it was before learning more about it?
So, I don't know that I thought about it. When I first heard it, though, for me, I think about riding and like when a horse carries its well, like when they're framed up and like they have their head in a good position and they can move well because they're carrying themselves well. That was the first thing that came to mind for me about good movement, because like it's like being framed up and so that they're supple and you're not dropping shoulders and that kind of thing. Like that's where my head went with it. But additionally, like as I have listened to your podcast and we have had more conversations too, like I just think about the ease. Like good movement is ease. And I think we just all need so much more. Nothing's easy, but things can have more purpose and ease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that. And good movement is so flexible. It's so interconnected into a variety of things. Like the hilarious misunderstanding was poop.
It's a good movement.
And good movement. Yes. You can't force it and have it be good movement.
But also, okay, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole here. Like there's so much more that goes into that. Before you're lacking movements, right? Like what's on the other side? Because there's a whole digestive situation happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it still works.
And getting curious about what that is that's got you stopped up.
Yeah. And like, and getting stuck, like being stuck. There's so many things. And it's such a pain in the butt. And that's what we want to skip. Like, right. We want to circumvent that work. We just want to like take
literally
a laxative.
It's a pain in the butt.
Right. It's just, but that's not going to fix the problem either. Right. Like the quick fix never fixes.
No.
It's just like, it gets just moving for a minute and then you're right back there.
Right. Still not good.
Still not good.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. So when I was a guest in Cowgirls Over Coffee, we also talked about how effective communication starts with us. And we talked a lot about self-awareness. And that's something that you guys talk a lot about in the membership also. Like you and I are both very passionate about it starts with us. Can you talk a little bit more about how in the membership you get those women thinking about how everything starts with them and how they have the ability to have their all by getting to know them? Yeah.
Yes. I love that so much. And that's why I've had you've come in a couple of times to talk to us, because I am so incredibly passionate about, I don't know how to say this again concisely, but like you are the center of your universe. Like everything starts and ends with you. And I think especially as women and especially as women in the lifestyle that we have chosen to, be a part of, there's this real careful line on one. It's like, it's not all about you. You need to pay attention to other, like you can't be self-absorbed or, which is all true 1,000%. Like, don't be a jerk, right? Don't be a self-obsessed jerk, because we see a lot of that too. But on the other side of that, there's all this like shame and judgment and expectation that we put on ourselves that keeps us stuck because we're like, oh, I can't prioritize myself. This is my one thing I will say I don't like about social media, like all the memes. And because we have gotten to this, like we have to be so quick to make our point and we want to be so concise and clear that we are making these snap judgments and like shaming ourselves for, it's not even like, oh, the self-care talk, like I won't take my time for myself. But like, I think you just have to develop the muscle where you are constantly checking in with yourself. Like you are growing and developing, and every choice is a reflection of what's going on in yourself, and that being curious, like, because if you are running well, like physically, emotionally, spiritually, you need to be taking care of yourself. And I'm not talking about, oh, take care of yourself. I'm talking about ruthlessly taking care of yourself. Like it is your responsibility. I also say, like, it is your responsibility to make sure you're surrounded with people, that you have a circle of people that are uplifting and supportive. And that is either in person, that is online, that is the books you read. Like what circles are you running in? What is the information that you're taking in? But like you have a responsibility. And now if you want to have a easy quote unquote life, if you just want to like get by, that's cool. Like I'm happy for you and I hope you have that. I personally cannot wrap my head around that. My sister once was like, I was talking about, I was like, oh, just everything feels like, I feel like I can't learn anything new. I was like in this really stuck spot. And she's like, maybe you could just embrace it. And I'm like, it just made my skin, like, I was like, you don't embrace being stuck, which I know where she was coming from that. But I just think it's so interesting, just that mindset. So if you are the kind of person, because I always joke, I'm like, I'm going to tell you what to do with your life, because I get really excited and overly invested in everyone and what they're doing and like their goals and dreams. I'm like, oh, let's like, don't sit next to me if you don't want to talk about like what your life plan is for the next 5 weeks to 50 years, because I will annoy you. But if you do love to do all that and like talk about like what you're reading and how like, and have questions and like not have answers, I am here for that. And I think we need to do that with ourselves. And when we are super committed to our growth, and again, I feel like these words are so overused, like growth and self-care and development. But like when you look at yourself and you see yourself as the linchpin in your life, and that your life is not independent, like of the vine, everything about you is going to impact your immediate family, your circle of friends, your community, and the world. Like every single thing about that. So if you take on that responsibility, and not in a scary way, in a healthy way, it is your responsibility to make sure that you are taking care of, filling, caring for, maintaining yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationships, all of those things. Life has more purpose and ease. When you know why you react certain ways, you can be a better communicator. When you know why you get excited about certain things or certain things make you angry, you can move through things more quickly. You can solve problems more quickly. You can let go of stuff. Like some things, like you just can choose to let go of. Like you don't have to. Like you can manage not only the external expectations, but your own expectations. And what you're placing on other people. And just the more you know yourself and the more you keep on working and asking those questions, the more unbothered you're going to be, and the more purposeful and helpful and impactful you can be at the same time, because everything just becomes so much lighter. I don't know. I feel like that was like not answering your question, but like it's so important that you work on you, and in every single, and it's not like read a book, take a course. It's like every single day being like, oh, that post really bugged me. Why? Oh, she said that to me. Why? Did I take it the wrong way? What if it wasn't meant that way? And it doesn't mean it was. It's like Taylor Swift, like that whole, I love this. It's not all about me, but what if it is? Maybe it is. But you get to the point where you're like, if it is, it is. And that's where the self-work pays off, where you can just be like, maybe they were a jerk to me. Maybe they were talking behind my back. Oh, well, because it's just not that important anymore. And I think that's where that like self and your awareness and how what you do, like you're cool with it because you already know why you said what you said, and you'd say it again and you understand the outcome. You release it in any way. Like maybe it got what you want, maybe it didn't. And I don't know if that's a piece too of just like leaning more, I don't know, like wherever you are at with your spiritual journey, but like really truly developing a belief that like everything's going to work out in my favor. Like God has a plan. And if I can just let go of my chokehold on what I think the plan should be and really keep in my lane with my purpose, which is super, like I suck at that, you guys. I don't know if you've ever seen, this is another thing too. I consume way too much social media. I've decided it's like what I do at the end of the day. But I saw a TikTok where there's the lady's like in the car seat. She's like, okay, Jesus, take the wheel. should we stop for a snack? Okay, no, you don't want to stop for a snack. Wait, did you see that X? Like, that is me. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you're in charge. You're driving. You got the, yeah, I try to steal. Wait, go on. And I feel like I do that too. But like, the more we can like really settle into that understanding that things are like, even the bad things, and trust me, I haven't had like the worst of the worst happen, but it hasn't been a charmed life either. And so we can just be like, okay, I can survive this. I can find the silver lining. I'm not talking toxic positivity here, but like, if you just have a knowing and a belief that it's handled, like it will work out, and you probably can't see it. I think that helps too. Like, that's the awareness part, like the awareness and the belief and the trust. It's all happening simultaneously. That's why it's so like, I love these conversations, and I love the work that you do, Taryn, with the whole like the communication stuff we have, because we're just like internalizing, and like there's so many moving parts and there's so many ingredients happening, and we want it to be a formula, and it's not formulaic. Like communication, life, goals, business, mothering, training your horse, it's not formulaic, because every single time you go to do it, you are not the same person. They are not the same person. It is not the same horse that you rode today that you rode yesterday. And I think for me, that knowledge, like literally everything is not the same as it was 5 minutes ago. Every single thing. And that's where the awareness comes in. Because if you have really good self-awareness, you can take actions and navigate that. That was another really long ramble.
And there's a lot of good nuggets in there.
Right?
Okay. So the first thing, when you were talking about self-absorption, self-awareness is not equal to self-absorption. Self-awareness is like inner work and knowing like your motivations and why you behave the way you behave and all the things. And that inner work that Thea is talking about is actually outer work, because good movement draws good movement. And so when you have that self-awareness and you're getting good movement from yourself, everyone else by default will be drawn into that good movement. Then something else that you said, well, I put this into my own words, but what you were saying about curiosity and questioning and asking why. So lately in my life, I have been doing this. And also when I'm reading or listening to scripture, I'll ask, what do you, God, want me to know about this? But all of what you were saying was, I can put it into one question. Like, no matter what is happening, if it's good or bad, or I'm scared about it, or I'm excited about it, I can stop and ask myself, what can I learn from this? Or you can even ask God in those moments, what do you want me to
what am I supposed to, just being open to? And I think that's part of it too. Like, part of that awareness is just like being super open. Because I went through a phase, I would probably say like 2019 through 2020, the first half of 2022, like I was talking to my husband, Jesse, and I was like, I am scared all of the time. Like, we had a lot of ambiguity in our ranch. We had a lot of ambiguity. My oldest son is on the autism spectrum and he's nonverbal. And then I had the boys really close together. And I was like, I am just living in this state of being terrified, which for me makes me mean. Like, it makes me super triggerable. I wasn't sleeping, all of those things. And the self-work, and I had done the self-work. I mean, I'm not a young 20-something straight out of college by the time I had kids and had this life experience. Like, I was in my mid-30s. And so I was like, I thought I knew myself. And you know what? Like, that realization, like, gosh, what am I going to be like when I'm 60? Like, I love hearing, like, I'm excited. And I personally plan to live to be at least 120 years old. And my exit strategy is to just fall off my horse, like just like die, like at 120, like out on the trail, like riding fence. That's my plan. How much are we going to learn by then? Like, that's exciting, like about ourselves, because we're never going to be the same person. And so that question of like, okay, what am I supposed to? It's that openness. Like, it's the like releasing the judgment, releasing the expectation, and like recognizing that. And that's what I think of when I think like, be curious. I'm like, okay, well, this is a real sucky situation. And also, like, don't deny, like, it sucks. I'm sorry. And like, I don't know, like the experience that we're having with raising a child on the autism spectrum sucks. I don't enjoy it. I love him, and there are so many beautiful things and there's so many learning opportunities, but it's hard. I guess, and that's even like, it has been hard. These have been some of the hardest years, these past few years of my life. But if we don't deny the hard, and we know everyone is going through hard, has gone through or will go through, and we all will go through it again, and we can just like release the shame, the judgment, the expectation, which I know sounds a little Pollyanna, a little idealist, but I think that's where the faith component comes in too. If you can just be like, and don't think that I specifically remember we were working cows one day, and like just nothing was going right. And I felt like, I just felt like I was stacking the losses in the column constantly. And we had the generator on because we have like a silencer chute and it's really loud. And I was pushing cows from the back, and I was just like in a mood. This also goes to good movement, draws good movement, because the alley's a little too wide. So, and I think we were working heifers, and you know how they can turn around like them. Oh, how are they so stinking flexible? They're cows. Anyways, so I shut a gate and it comes back and hits me in the face. And I was like screaming at God, screaming. Thank goodness no one could hear me because the generator was really loud. I was like, I'm open. Like, just give me more direction. I wasn't like angry at God. I was like, I don't know what you want from me. If you could just tell me what you want. And I think we've all had those moments, right? I kind of wish we had like a Ring camera or something. I don't know. I wish I could see that back, because I bet it is hysterical. But I was so much like, I'm kind of proud of myself. Like in all my anger, I was like, just tell me what to do. And that's just not the way it works. We have to figure it out. And self-awareness, like we have to figure it out. And that starts with being like, okay, what do you want me to learn? What is the lesson? Which I also feel like is kind of like, even just that question feels a little dismissive. Like, it's always going to be so much deeper. And if we just are less attached to your purpose and attached to the purpose and the feeling in the day, and be unattached to the little things and be like, okay, I'm going to have to roll with this. And I think that's what I've learned. Like, being unattached without being apathetic is another balance I've had to work with. I always say I can't be a great example, but I can definitely be a bad example, like a warning. So I can always tell you all the things I've done wrong, and we're just going to all figure it out together along the way.
But I think, I'm not saying you are a bad example, but I think from bad examples, you can still learn what not to do.
Isn't that life,
didn't
though?
work.
Isn't like how much, and again, this feels very like, this is superficial and we've heard it before, but like, you learn so much more from when you screw up. Like, you learn so much more from when you screw up, probably because we analyze our screw ups more than we analyze our wins. That just occurred to me. Maybe we need to spend a lot more time analyzing when things go right.
I was
just like, yay, and we move on.
One of the discoveries that I've made in my inner work is that I not only dismiss feelings of anger and sadness and anxiety, I also dismiss feelings of joy. And so you're not wrong. We do need to spend more time.
We need to spend some more time in the wins and the joy and the...
Yeah. Okay.
That's like a whole other topic. Okay.
I know, right?
Sorry. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, to sum up what you just said, it's a journey, not a destination. Like, because you're saying, this was me when I got out of college. This was me when I got married and had kids. This is me now. And it really speaks to, this work is never done. Mm-hmm. Like, as long as you're humaning on this earth, this work is never done. You have to constantly ask the questions and be working on your self-awareness and your inner work. It's a journey, not a destination. Mm-hmm. And also, this is backing way up when you were talking about everything. We want everything to be formulaic. I'm like, yes, because in a former iteration of my online presence, when I was still Faith, Family, and Beef and just blogging and talking about ranching and stuff, we would show us, and on YouTube, maybe it came more from YouTube when I briefly did YouTube, but we would show us moving cattle and talk about, like, when you walk parallel to the cattle, they slow down and stop. And when you walk reverse parallel, like when you walk with the cattle, they slow down. When you walk against them, they speed up. And talking about those different principles and stuff, people would ask questions about, well, how do I do this? And how do I do that? And Tom was like, It seems like everybody wants a formula when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
grazing cattle and handling cattle, but there is no formula. There's only feel. Like we can lay these principles and have this foundation of self awareness and social awareness. But when it comes to actually communicating, it's all about feel. And
Yes.
we have to be self aware and we have to be socially aware in order to get that feel.
Yes. I'm just like chills because that's like one of the things I'm always talking about too is like we need 673 tools. And that's why like you can't be like, oh, X happens, do Y, outcome Z. That's just not the way it works. And I think that I always thought of that like even with parenting and stuff, like cold starting, because like you need to pick up a shoulder and like there's like 4 ways to do it that you try first. And then but it's like you and the colt and did you take him to the vet? And like I think that's the thing is like we just have to release the need for an answer, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh
And the
my
need to get it right. Like, and that's the other thing. Like, instead of getting it right, let's do it well.
God.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's if we can approach things, and again, I say in Cowgirls Over Coffee all the time, like there's like 5 things. There's only like 5 answers. And it applies to every single thing in a different way. And it's like, get more sleep and don't be a jerk. But if we can just release the need to get it right and release the need to have an answer, and we just go into every single thing being like baby deer, which also, sorry, my head just exploded with 6 thoughts. But like if we just went into things that were like, without prejudging, without expectations. And I mean, let your previous experience guide you through that. I'm not saying be a dummy. And I also feel really bad because my language is not this PG. I tried really hard. Like if you ever meet me in real life and I drop like a lot of sailor words, please don't be shocked. Like I just feel like that is an authenticity thing. But I mean, don't be dumb about what you're doing. Let your past experiences inform your future decisions. But every time you go into it, don't have any expectations. Don't expect it to be the same or be different. But you have all this stuff with you. Like you're just building your tools. It's just getting better all the way
Mm-hmm.
along the way. I don't
You're
know.
just
I love it all.
learning and
Just
bringing new
learning,
things along.
just humaning, and you get
And
better every single time.
yeah, and shedding what you don't isn't working for you anymore.
And that's how we live our days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here for all the big, I'm not saying don't have big goals and don't have big accomplishments on your radar. Like I want legacy level stuff to come out of my life. Like I want to leave the world and my family and the people I touch in a better place. And that sounds a little corny sometimes and people will roll your eyes. I want that, but I also want to, just as much as I want that, I want to feel good every day. Not that things aren't hard, but I want to go to bed being like, yep, that was a good day. And if you do that, I would really, really challenge people at the end of every day before your head hits the pillow, be like, was it a good day or was it a bad day? Like just one or the other. 99 times out of 100, it was a good day. Like when you really think about it, most days are not bad days. But again, it's just like how we spend a lot of time ruminating and questioning and examining and taking apart the things that didn't work out. We don't do that with the wins, the things that did work out. Like when we look at a good day, we're just like, oh, that was a good day when we go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was a bad day, we sit there and we're like, oh, this went wrong and I should have done this better. And this, she was kind of a jerk and I wish she wouldn't have said that. And if I could have said that again, I would say, those are the kind of things that like make us, that's why our brain has this negativity bias, like, or that is the negativity bias. And we have to actively combat that. And it will make you feel so much better because when you're feeling better, then you're going to be able to make better decisions, be less attached, don't do those things. Like, and it's work and it's that boring, dumb work that puts you there, but it feels so, so good. It feels so good when you can come from that place.
And like you're saying, like just take it day by day and you want these big legacy level things for your life and the people in your life and all of that. But when you break it down and you do the work and you have that good movement and those good days in yourself, by default, good
They're
movement
happy
draws
little,
good movement.
Yep, it happens.
Yep. So you're leaving the legacy with your good days.
And your good movement.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up. But I just want to say thank you so much, Thea, for coming on the podcast today. I
Of
always
course.
enjoy our
I do
conversations.
too. I feel like we could just like talk for 6 hours, or I could ramble for 6 hours and then you could sum it up for me. And we could be like, that's a good point.
Good teamwork.
Yes, right?
Before we go, tell everyone where they can find you. And we will also link all of this in the show notes. So you don't have to worry about writing it down, but just listeners don't have to worry about writing it down. But just tell everyone where they can find you.
Don't drive off the road or something. Cowgirls Over Coffee is everywhere, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. I am primarily an Instagram girly. I love the Instagram. That's where you'll find me at Cowgirls Over Coffee. Cowgirlsovercoffee.com is our website. That's where you can learn about all the things and when the membership is open and when our different programs are opening. We usually have like seasonal programs and master classes and things. And then also you can follow, if you want to follow me as a human and just my life, it's at Thea Does the Things, but it's Thea.does.the.things. I know, but it makes it easier to read on Instagram. But that's pretty much where I'm hanging. I'm hanging in my stories on Thea Does the Things, and I'm posting, like, just trying to be encouraging and trying to like give you little nuggets of things on Cowgirls Over Coffee, because I just want you to not be so hard on yourself. And I want you to have that purpose and ease, but not lower the bar, like never have to settle. And that's really what Cowgirls Over Coffee, what you'll find there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me and letting me just ramble.
Until next time, draw good movement. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful for you. If you found value in this episode, I'd love for you to share with others who might also benefit from tuning in. Share by word of mouth, send it in a text, take a screenshot and post it on social media, or share however you prefer. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, draw good movement.